Alright, so episode 2 of season 3 of Final Space. So, yeah, this episode basically confirmed to me what I thought before, and yeah, this is definitely much more of a return to Forum to how it was. I mean, Ulin Rogers himself, if you've seen his tweets about it, said that Final Space Season 2 wasn't really his kind of vision for what he wanted, because Season 2 had a lot of studio interference because the studio and the network behind it basically wanted to turn Final Space into, by the sounds of it, another Rick and Morty, which is why they focused so much trying to shove as many jokes into it as possible. Whereas Season 3, the jokes are still there, and unfortunately, most of the time, the jokes in Final Space, they just don't land, so I'm glad they're used a lot more sparingly, because Final Space, I felt like Season 2 was kind of fighting with itself the whole time. You had a much more interesting story happening, but the episode suddenly had to stop every 5 minutes to insert unfunny joke here. Whereas this one doesn't really have that, and the jokes don't stop the plot mix scene. And as ever, this time around, it is a continuous plot. So, yeah, there will be spoilers and that in this, obviously. So, if you haven't seen episode 1, and if you haven't seen this episode, then I'm going to be spoiling it here. So, episode 2, just like in season 1, the next episode follows up directly where the previous one left off. So, Kevin flies Gary and Co. to Earth, to Paris, in fact, where they actually meet Kevin's creator. And thanks to him, there's the plot device of, hey, this guy can build a jump gate to get out of Final Space. So, yeah, this is most likely pretty much how they're going to get out of Final Space. Excuse me. I would have thought that something like this would have been introduced a little bit later on, just to kind of give that a bit more of a hopelessness kind of thing. But I guess after last episode, there needs to be a bit of hope in there, because last episode, it was basically everything did seem completely hopeless, whereas this time around, there at least seems to be a bit of hope in there, whether, that actually is the actual end goal and what happens, or whether this is just a bit of a red herring. But at least it's not a, hey, you need to collect 5 keys, and that is literally what the story arc is. This time, there's a lot more things going on, and that isn't, the be-all and end-all thing. And we actually get, Gary and Co. actually get a new ship. They get a new ship, and they call it the Galaxy 2, which basically looks mostly the same, at least on the inside, as the Galaxy 1 ship, except at least it appears to be a lot smaller. And Hugh actually becomes an AI of that ship again. So, yeah, Hugh is no longer in a robot body anymore. Now he is back as being an AI of the ship, which is good, because I feel like they were starting to run out of things to kind of do with him in the robot body, because he spent the majority of season 2 being essentially just kind of there, and they didn't really know what to do with him other than just give him a robot body as an excuse to just keep him in the season. Whereas this time, hopefully, since he's back as the ship's AI, at least this time he does have an actual purpose and isn't just kind of there in the background. Tribor separates himself from Avocado and Co., who, yes, survived, obviously. And, yeah, I mean, a joke is made here where he'll be back later, and yeah, he will be back later. They've done this so many times. I like the fact that they are a bit self-aware, that Tribor kind of comes and goes when and where the plots kind of demands it. So, yeah, I mean, he says he's going on maternity leave, but to be honest, he just kind of leaves when he's no longer needed in the plot. So, meh. And then we get to the screenshot in front of me, which is apparently the last of the Final Space spiders, as I call them. The last of them are here, and there's only 3 left, and they actually rescue Avocado and the rest from that muck they are. And Gary and co have no idea about this. Absolutely not at all. But this is the point where a big spoiler's happening. Although, if you've seen the trailer for Season 3, you already know. Well, you can probably guess what I'm going to say. Also, if you see the credits at the start of the episode, this is how I knew he was going to be in this episode as well. I knew he was going to be in the season, but I knew he was going to be in this episode because of the credits for the stars in this episode. And, yep, David Tennant is back as the Lord Commander. The Lord Commander is back. Which, my god, even though he is only in one scene in this episode, he completely steals the show in that one scene. Because, honestly, Season 2 it was something Season 2 was missing. It was missing its big overarching villain. I know they kind of had Gary's mother be kind of the villain for the season, and they also had a possessed Avocado when needed, but yeah, they just didn't really. That was something Season 2 really missed, was a good villain. None of either the one-time villains or they didn't have any major villains in the season, which, yeah, the Lord Commander is definitely the only really good villain that the series has really had, and it's the only villain where basically most of the cast have had a personal connection to. I mean, he was responsible for killing Avocado, which is, where the series finally got a foothold and actually became what it was and became great in a lot of people's opinion, including mine. And he also basically he caused the Earth to be taken into final space. So yeah, the Lord Commander is back here, and he does not fuck about. He kills the 3 remaining spiders instantly, and his mind powers are back in full, and he basically just threatens them to tell him where Mooncake is. Yeah. Is he going to kill them all? I don't know. Well, he's not going to kill them all, because I've seen the trailer and there's bits of them clearly in a later episode, so clearly not. But just that one scene, that one little scene that he is in this episode, God, I've forgotten how good the Lord Commander was as a villain, because he is just so intimidating, and it shows that his true power. Because yes, you can have the Titans as kind of villains in the background. I mean, we had one last week, just like a nameless Titan, but the good thing about the Lord Commander is it has more of a personal connection to him and to the rest of the cast. Not Ash and Fox, really, but pretty much everyone else, I mean, even Gary's mum, to a lesser extent. But yeah, there we go. There we go. And the episode ends off with Bolo and Mooncake working for Bolo to now have a sword. He now has a sword, which he's just going to use to kill Invictus with. Okay. Yeah. The problem with Invictus is that, he has been built up as the most powerful Titan, the most powerful being ever. And he has demonstrated and shown that. The problem is that we don't really get any time with him at all. I know he's meant to be like kind of the ultimate power, but to be honest, his appearances are not always Invictus. It's just like, okay, this is the biggest bad who can do anything. Whereas Lord Commander, he has more of an impact. He has impacted the stories much, much more than Invictus ever has. Obviously, I know Invictus is the reason the Lord Commander is doing all this. But still, it's not quite the same. Not quite the same. I don't think this episode was quite as good as the previous episode. So just because the last episode had much more of a sense of urgency than this one did. This one felt like it was trying to get a bit more of exposition out of the way, to be honest, which I can understand them trying to do that and set up things. Which, yeah, so the main purpose of this episode was to basically set up a way for, Gary and Co to basically get out to final space. That was, and for Bolo to get his sword and reintroduce the Lord Commander. That was basically the main points of this episode. But saying that, though, it was still really good, and it flew by really quickly as well. Yeah, these episodes aren't dragging their heels on trying to stretch, a single plot and having to have an A and a B feel completely disjointed, whereas this one is all part of a kind of bigger picture of one story. And to be honest, I can kind of say this now, to be honest, you could probably skip watching Season 2. And I do like Season 2. Like, Season 2 does have improvements over Season 1, but to be honest, apart from a couple of key points in Season 2, it didn't really further the plot that much, apart from a few, about 3 or 4 episodes out of Season 2, whereas this one, each episode does seem to be furthering the overall plot and how it goes. So, yeah, overall, I did really enjoy this one, and it makes me much more excited for where it's going to go because of it. Where Season 2 didn't really have that as much, just because for the most part, the episodes were just singular episodes. They weren't serialized like they are here. So, yeah, overall, that's my final opinion on Season 3, Episode 2 of Final Space, and let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. But anyway, that's it this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.